Did you know that nearly 85% of motorcycle charging failures trace back to one single component? What is a regulator rectifier? Today, I'm going to share 3 fast charging fixes that stop dim lights, low voltage, and random stalls before they wreck your ride. So, what's a regulator rectifier? It's the compact aluminum unit, usually mounted to the frame or side panel, that converts your stator's AC power into DC. Then stabilizes it around 14 volts to feed your battery and power every system on your bike. Whether you ride a carbureted cruiser or fuel-injected sport bike, this part keeps your electrical system alive. Let's uncover the 3 quick charging secrets that restore stable voltage before your bike dies mid-ride. Secret 1. The voltage drop test. Most riders chase charging problems the wrong way by replacing parts based on idle voltage alone. But here's the trap. A weak regulator rectifier often looks fine when the bike is cold and unloaded. It's only when you add real-world demand, like lights, brakes, and heat, that it falls apart. Start simple. With a fully charged battery, key on, engine off, you should see around 12.6 volts if the battery's healthy. Now fire up the engine and hold a steady 3,000 RPM. Watch the meter climb. A properly functioning system should hold between 13.8 and 14.5 volts. If it stays stuck in the 12 seconds, you're not charging. If it blasts past 15, the regulator isn't regulating, and every component is riding a voltage roller coaster. Now comes the real test. Simulate a night ride. High beam on, brake lights. If you've got heated grips, auxiliary lights, turn them all on. Keep 3,000 RPM and read the number. A healthy regulator rectifier should stay above 13.0 volts with those loads. If it dips into the low 12 seconds or fluctuates as fans cycle, you're dealing with a weak regulator, resistive wiring, or both. Next, go deeper and test for hidden losses. Place your meter's positive lead on the regulator's DC output and the negative lead on the battery's positive post. Still holding 3,000 RPM with all accessories running. Anything above 0.2 volts means resistance is eating charge before it even reaches the battery. Now walk the meter down the wiring, connector by connector, until the number drops. The last spot that showed the drop, that's where your volts are vanishing. Do the same on the ground side. Measure from the regulator's ground wire or case to the battery's negative terminal. You want as close to 0 as possible. If you see more than a couple tenths of a volt, that dirty ground is overworking your regulator and killing output. Want one last test? Switch your meter to AC volts and check the battery at 3,000 RPM. A clean rectifier keeps AC ripple under 0.5 volts. More than that suggests a blown diode bleeding AC into your system. A slow killer of ECUs, sensors, and batteries. A Yamaha came in once showing 14.2 volts at idle, but the battery died every night ride. At 3,000 RPM with lights on, voltage dropped to 12.1. The issue? A good ground bolted to painted frame. We cleaned to bare metal, used a star washer, torqued it, and greased it. Same regulator. Voltage held at 14.3. Fix the path, not just the part. But passing the voltage test is only half the battle, because even a perfect regulator can fail the second heat gets involved. Before we move on, drop a comment below. Have you ever tested charging voltage with the lights and fans on, not just at idle? What did you see when the system was actually working for a living? Secret 2. The heat check. See, that finned case isn't styling, it's a heat sink, and when it can't shed heat, silicon inside breaks down. The symptoms are sneaky. Voltage looks perfect cold. 10 minutes into a ride, lights pulse at stops, idle hunts, and the meter drifts from 14.2 toward 12.6. You park for coffee, cool off, and the numbers are normal again. That's thermal saturation, not a mystery battery. Catch it hot. After a ride, carefully touch the heat sink or hit it with an infrared thermometer. Warm is normal. Too hot to hold for more than a second means it's cooking itself. Pull the unit and check how it's mounted. The case must sit flat on clean bare metal, not paint. Scrape the mount to bright metal, clean the case, and apply a thin, continuous layer of thermal compound, not dielectric grease. Bolt it down evenly so the paste spreads into a hair-thin film. If your bike tucks the rectifier behind plastics, next to a radiator, or above an exhaust header, you've built an oven. Relocating it into clean airflow, under the tail with vents, on a frame down tube, or near the radiator shroud where air moves can be the difference between yearly replacements and years of reliable charging. Know what you're running. Traditional shunt regulators control voltage by dumping extra stator output to ground. That heat has to go somewhere, into the regulator and stator. MOSFET shunt units do the same job with less internal loss, so they run cooler and hold steadier voltage. Series regulators take a different approach by interrupting current instead of shunting it, dramatically reducing stator heat at cruise. If you commute or tour in hot weather, a MOSFET or series upgrade isn't bling. It's survival. Suspect heat but want-proof? Test the diodes. Disconnect the unit, set your meter to diode mode, and check each stator input leg to positive and negative outputs. You should see conduction in one direction and blocking in the other. Any leg that conducts both ways, or reads near zero both ways, is a blown diode. Sometimes they don't fail open, they fail leaky, which becomes a parasitic draw that flattens your battery while the bike sleeps. Key off. Measure current draw in series with the battery. On a simple bike, anything more than a few dozen milliamps is a red flag. Pull the regulator connector. If the draw vanishes, the rectifier is bleeding your battery dry from the inside out. I remember once when a Honda liter bike rolled in with a brand new battery that died every other day. Static tests passed. Hot tests told the truth. After a 15-minute loop, we measured a 0.3 amp draw with the key off. Unplugged the reg/rec. Draw went near zero. One diode was going conductive when hot, then recovering cold. A MOSFET replacement, fresh thermal compound, and a move to cleaner airflow turned a problem child into a dependable commuter. Take a sniff too. That faint burnt epoxy smell near the fins after shutdown, it's the electronic equivalent of toasted clutch. If the mounting tabs paint is browned, or the paste has chalked and bled out the edges, you're looking at a long, slow overheat. Fix the mount and the airflow along with the part, or you'll be right back here. Temperature control solves half your problems. The other half? Hidden resistance killing your system in silence. The next secret reveals the solution. Secret 3. The ground and connector fix. You can bolt on a perfect regulator and a fresh stator and still watch system voltage slump because electricity can't move through dirty paths. Resistance is the silent killer. Corroded grounds and tired connectors add just enough ohms to starve the battery and overwork the regulator without ever failing in a dramatic way. Start at the foundation, grounds. Follow the negative battery cable to the frame lug. If that lug sits on paint or powder coat, it isn't a ground, it's a guess. Pull the bolt, scrape to bright bare metal, and clean the ring terminal until it shines. Reinstall with a star washer for bite and torque it firmly. Add only a whisper-thin film of dielectric grease on the outside to seal out moisture, never between the metal-to-metal contact surfaces. If your bike has multiple ground points, service them all. One dirty lug can mimic a bad regulator by forcing the unit to push harder and hotter than it should. Next, address the highest risk connector on the bike. The 3 stator wires. Those yellow or white leads carry hot, high-frequency AC straight from the alternator. Any looseness or oxidation creates arcing, which browns the plastic, embrittles insulation, and eats the pins. If the housing is discolored or brittle, don't clean and hope, delete it. Cut the connector out, stagger the 3 splices so the harness doesn't bulge, solder the joints, and seal each with heat shrink. Direct splices reduce resistance and eliminate one of the most common failure points in any charging system. Now validate the charge path under real conditions. With the engine at 3000 RPM and the headlight on, measure from the regulator's positive output to the battery positive post. Anything over roughly 0.2 of a volt is charge current being lost in transit. Move your meter one connector closer to the regulator at a time until the drop disappears. The segment you just bypassed is stealing your volts. Repeat on the ground side by measuring from the regulator case, or ground lead, to the battery negative. You want nearly zero. If you see a few tenths, you've found a bottleneck that will cook the regulator and underfeed the battery. Don't ignore the main fuse and its holder. Tin-plated blades oxidize, and spring tension relaxes with heat. Under load, that turns a fuse into a small space heater. With the bike running and lights on, put your black meter lead on battery negative and touch each fuse blade. If the 2 blades disagree by more than a small fraction of a volt, replace the fuse and retention, or replace the holder. Many mystery undercharge complaints end right there. If you've added accessories, heated grips, auxiliary lights, USB chargers, give them their own fuse distribution block and a clean, dedicated ground. Never piggyback high-draw add-ons onto regulator or ECU grounds. Noise and voltage drop from accessories can pollute sensor references, make the ECU act drunk, and make a healthy charging system look broken. When you suspect wiring but want proof, make the harness move while the meter watches. With the engine idling and the multimeter on system voltage, sweep the bars lock to lock, compress the rear suspension, and gently wiggle the loom where it bends. If the number flickers or the idle hunts when the loom moves, you've found an intermittent connection. Open the wrap. Look for green corrosion wicking under insulation, broken strands at a crimp, or copper polished thin from vibration. Fix it once, fix it right. Soldered, strain relieved, sealed. Here's a quick case study. A Triumph Triple burned through 3 regulators in a year. Static checks were fine, but hot charging sagged the second the fan kicked on. Under load, we measured half a volt of drop from the regulator case to the battery negative. That half volt forced the regulator to run uphill all day, shedding heat to make up the difference. Cleaning the frame lug to bare metal, adding a short dedicated ground strap from the regulator case to the battery, and replacing a tired ring terminal dropped the reading to near zero. The next regulator lived happily ever after. Clean grounds and tight connectors don't just fix charging, they stabilize the whole bike. Headlights stop pulsing, starters crank with authority, sensors read cleanly, which settles fueling and ignition. Most importantly, the regulator stops running a marathon through mud. Treat wiring as part of the component, and your charging system will act new again. Anyone who has suffered these things will understand just how important these secrets are. So, share your worst charging nightmare in the comments. Paint grounds, melted plugs, heat-related failures. Your story could save someone else from being stranded. Now I think we can all agree that charging systems mean nothing if you're wasting cash on fuel myths. In the next video, I'm exposing 9 fuel myths stupid motorcycle riders fall for. So hit like, subscribe for more real solutions, and watch that next.